Hello students, welcome to COM510, Communication Research and Evaluation. My name is Dr. Romo and I'm excited to serve as your professor this term. This is our first weekly video and I just wanted to take some time to point out some important course information in addition to introducing myself and introducing you to the course. So as we move forward, it's important to know that these lectures are required to view. And I wanted to take a moment just to share with you my family. I've been married to my husband Mark for 10 years. And like I said, my name is Dr. Sandra Romo. I have two children, Nicholas and Emma. They're right below my video feed. And they keep me on my toes. We're avid Green Bay Packer fans. I'm also a Girl Scout troop leader. That's something I'm actually very passionate about. I really love interacting with young girls and really connecting and feeding into their lives in a very fruitful way. So that's just a little bit about me. As we move through the information, it's important to keep in mind how to get in touch with me. That's actually an important thing within the course. So I am located at the Tyler Plaza campus. My phone number is listed below as well as my email address. I will tell you email is the best and most efficient way to get in touch with me. It's synced to my phone and I do readily reply pretty frequently to emails in a timely manner. The university policy is within 24 business hours. However, I usually do it within about 6 to 12 hours, barring any weekends or holidays or non-business hours. But I utilize that as my primary form of communication to ensure that I am in touch with you, especially in those times of needs where you're working on assignments and responses could be very timely and needed in a very timely fashion. I just wanted to give you some brief overview. Let me go real back to this really quickly. My office hours are on Monday and Tuesday. Additionally, this is my 8th year teaching at CBU. I've taught in a number of different programs throughout my 8 years. In addition to being an assistant professor of communication, I'm also the program director for this master's program. So you'll be working very closely with me towards the end of your program as you get into your capstone project. So keep in mind that it's really important to start thinking of that early on, and I'm more than willing to sit down with you at any time to discuss the nature of your program and where you see that fit. Here's some information that I'm highlighting from the syllabus. It's really important to keep that in mind. These are highlights from the syllabus. It's not in lieu of the syllabus. You are required to read and understand the syllabus. That's our contract between each other of what to expect. But some things I want to point out is any discussion board assignment has 2 deadlines. Your firm deadline is Friday for all original responses and Sunday for all replies. You must reply to 3 students between Friday and Sunday. So that's important to know. I'm looking for responses to 3 students and all of your grading and all of the work when I'm grading. It's also important to keep in mind that these deadlines may vary in week 8. As you know, we have a tight turnaround with grades if this isn't your first class, and so week 8 the deadlines typically vary, so do make a mental note of that or a physical note of that as you go through the syllabus on your own. Additionally, my late policy is pretty simple. I don't accept late work under any circumstances whatsoever. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Plan ahead if you're going to be traveling, or there may be a situation that prevents you from submitting work on time, and get in touch with me so we can make arrangements. I won't make arrangements to extend that beyond the deadline, but I will make arrangements to come up with a new deadline or help you troubleshoot how to get the assignments in on time. Also, it is required to view all of the weekly lectures. That's embedded to your physical or your online course time you're supposed to be spending within the course. So that's something we report to our WAS committee and things of that nature for accreditation, and it's assumed that you're reviewing all of the lectures. And on top of that, there's really important information in there. It's going to be hard for you to get through the assignments without listening to the lecture and listening to my explanation on what to do with those particular assignments. Some things to expect as you're moving through the course. As you can see here, all of the announcements, we're in this My Announcement section, is where your weekly lectures will be posted. They will be posted typically on Monday. Sometimes they move to Tuesday, just depending on how the week is. But do expect those early on in the week. They will populate in the announcement section and as an email to you in Lancer Mail. Once you get into the week, and this is just a generic course, it's not your course, the agendas are all structured the same. In our agendas, we utilize a read, watch, and complete section. Oops. And in that read, watch, and complete section, it tells you what you should be reading in addition to the course text or any supplementary materials. It tells you what you should be watching, and that is also required and built into your course minutes and time you need to spend online. And then it tells you what you need to complete. And you should really complete everything in that nature. You should actually watch the video lecture, then complete the read section, then the walk section, and then get into the complete section with the work you actually have to do that week. So it's really important that you keep that in mind. That's a standard format throughout any course you're taking with me and will really help you in understanding how to do that going forward. The next thing we have, and I'm going to move me over so I'm not blocking you too much, is your grade section. So this may be routine for you, this may be repetitive, that's fine. This is really for students that aren't quite sure and just kind of something we're required to go over at the beginning of each term. If you want to find out more about your grade, so this is a grade center and you see here 56.83 is the score, you click the hyperlink of the actual title of the assignment. What happens is this attempt box pops up. It tells you the date created, submitted, or edited. It tells you if it was late or not, the points possible, all this great stuff. You can hyperlink. The grade is actually hyperlinked. You click on the grade. Then box 3 shows up and it tells you everything you need to know. If you want to view a rubric, it's up in the upper corner. If you want to view instructor feedback, you click response feedback. Sometimes it's just displayed there. You don't need to click it, and that's how you access everything. At this point, it's important to know that I reserve extensive feedback for grades that are less than 80%. So if you get a score of 80% or less, or probably 79% or less, I'm going to give you some extensive feedback. Anything above that, I give minimal feedback. And my reasoning is for this. An 80 to 90% is above average work, and a 90 to 100% is excellent work. That means you achieved what you needed to do. You exceeded the assignment instructions. Above average and excellent means you exceeded the assignment instructions. That 20% differential from 80 to 100% really is minimal at that point. It's probably APA formatting at this level with graduate work because that's something I'm very firm on. Grammar maybe there needed to be a little more elaboration. Your argument could have been better. There could be a number of different things, but it's very minimal because 80 to 100% is minimal in terms of the entire project. Once you get under 80%, that means there are significant gaps in your information that needed to be presented, and I will address that in extensive feedback. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, especially at this point in graduate work, everything is far from perfection. We're not perfect creatures. We know that God did not design us to be perfect. We all fall short of His glory. And so it's important to keep that in mind, that achieving 100% would be something that shows that you've did everything perfectly. And at this point in graduate work, and really in any work, we very rarely submit something that's perfect. So there's always going to be room for improvement in some sense. So do keep that in mind. As we move through the course content, let's take a look at our weekly agenda. Excuse me as my video screen moves again. This week we're reading chapters 1 through 3 in our Babby text. And our Babby text is this text here, and this is my instructor version, so it looks a little different than yours. Oops. That's the Babby text, chapters 1 through 3. It's actually a phenomenal text looking at the practice of social research and how we use it. You'll find, and this is the Rubin text, and they're reading chapters 1 through 2. So you'll find that the Babby text, when you look at it and you're like, social research, how does this apply to us? It actually is very applicable. Communication studies is a form of social sciences. So it's really important that we understand how this relates to a social setting and social sciences as a whole. So this text is very applicable. You're reading those chapters. You're also watching some of the videos posted here, as well as completing critical assignment activity number 1 and weekly review number 1. Weekly review number 1 requires you to create a Prezi presentation that provides an overview of the purpose of communication research. In your overview, you will be addressing the 3 questions listed there by describing the purpose of communication research, reviewing common errors of human inquiry found in chapter 1 of the Babby text, as well as identifying 3 key terms or headings in the subject areas listed in chapter 1 of the Rubin text that may interest you. It's really important to explain how these terms and these potential areas can be applied to potential research projects. So in a nutshell, you're creating a Prezi presentation that's giving me an overview of what you think the purpose is of communication research. Critical assignment activity number 1 is asking you to identify your topic. And I'm going to get into the assignments for the instructions for the critical assignment in a second. So in this, you are going to identify your topic for your research project, provide a brief rationale for your project, clearly state the value your topic has, and then you're going to write a purpose statement. So the rationale should be about, and excuse me, rationale has an E at the end of it, I just noticed the typo, should be about 300 to 400 words, and your purpose statement is about 2 to 3 sentences aside from that. As you keep this in mind, we're conducting actual research in this class. Your midterm is your research proposal, and then that's completed between weeks 1 and 4. And then after weeks 4 through 7 or so, you're actually conducting and finalizing your research. So your critical assignment is the entire body of your research. It's your proposal plus all of the data and the data analysis. Your midterm is turning in your proposal, letting me know what you plan to do. So your critical assignment includes all aspects of your research study: intro, purpose statement, lit review, research questions, hypothesis, methodologies, results, limitations, conclusions. This paper is going to be about 15 to 20 pages. And it's probably going to, that's before references, and it's probably going to hover closer to the 20-page mark, you'll see, depending on your methodology you've chosen. We're going to get into more of this next week as we get into your midterm research proposal. But just to highlight it, I'm highlighting these two now because your critical assignment number 1 right here is designed to be utilized in your critical assignment as well as your midterm research proposal. So everything is tied together. So each critical assignment activity is really designed to contribute to both, like I said, your critical assignment and midterm research proposal. Students are required to submit a research proposal for their midterm that includes an introduction, purpose statement, lit review, research questions and/or hypotheses, as well as a methods section. That's due in week 4. After that, you're going to conduct your research and then formulate your critical assignment from all of that. I will be giving explicit instruction on this in week 2. Like I said, I want to highlight all of this so you can start to wrap your head over and around what critical assignment activity number 1 is and how it relates to everything we're doing in this course. So as we move into looking at purpose statements, since you're writing one for this week within your critical assignment activity number 1, a purpose statement is a declarative sentence or body of sentences that summarizes a specific topic or goals of research. It's typically included within the introduction at the very end of the introduction and gives the reader an accurate, concrete understanding of that document, what it will cover, and what they can gain from your research. So really what it is, it's your thesis statement for your research. It's very important that it's specific and precise, that it's concise, clear, and goal-oriented. There are some common phrases, and this is copied from Blackboard, that help you lead into your purpose statement. In a typical research proposal or write-up of your research, the research paper, it's probably going to be at least 2 to 3 sentences. That's at minimum, upwards maybe of a paragraph depending on the length of your paper. So do keep that in mind. And so that's what you need to keep in mind. A purpose statement is just telling me what you're going to be conducting and the purpose of what the research is you're conducting. As you move through it, it's important for us to highlight what the research process is. So all research starts with an idea. It then moves into the literature review. The literature review tells you what the information is, what's out there about your potential research idea, and how your research idea could contribute to the existing body of literature. You then formulate a theoretical formulation of a research problem or empirical research questions, which are hypotheses. So you determine if your research is going to be theoretical or empirical. You plan and create a research design. That's where we're going to stop at the midterm, and you're going to turn that in. Then you're going to conduct your data, analyze your data, answer your empirical research questions, or provide a theoretical interpretation of the results, write your conclusions, and come back. So it's a full circle. We're going to get to this point right here in the red by week 4, and we're going to complete the rest before the end of the course. That's actually a very short period of time. So what we're going to be doing really is just some pilot studies and some introductory or pilot information and pilot studies where we do exploratory research to see what's out there about this topic so we can later conduct a full-blown study to get in there and kind of whet our appetite about different topics. As we move into some of the purposes of communication research, it's important to know that communication itself, from a research perspective, needs to be systematic to be effective. It also studies the process through which meaning and social reality are created and managed. We're examining flow of information and interchange of messages. We're utilizing theory to discuss and explain what things should be or not be when it comes to behaviors and interactions within communication, as well as examining regularities in social life. Our major purpose of communication research is either to explore, describe, or explain some type of communication behavior or phenomenon. And I'm going to say that again. Major purposes is threefold. We're doing communication research to either explore, describe, or explain communication phenomena or behaviors. So with that, inductive reasoning really is utilized just not from a logical perspective, but as general principles develop and largely through observation of communication behaviors and phenomenon. Inductive reasoning is widely utilized and valid within our area of study. So as we look at principles of communication research, it's important to note these four things. The first is inductive reasoning. It's a logical model in which general principles are developed from specific observations. Deductive reasoning in research is a model where specific expectations of hypotheses are developed on the basis of general principles and a pattern that might be logically or theoretically expected to observations that are to test whether the expected pattern actually occurs. And it's micro theory and macro theory. I'm not sure what happened in the conversion of my presentation here. Micro theory is aimed at understanding the big picture or totality of what societies and interactions among societies adhere to. And macro theory is really aimed at the understanding of social life at an intimate level of individuals and their interactions. So micro theory within research meanings we're looking at theories that are aimed, or macro theory, I'm sorry, is aimed at the big picture, and then micro theory is aimed at the intimate levels of life. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what happened with this here, but I will fix it. So this is macro, I'll put macro, and this is micro. So microtheory really focuses at the intimate level of the individuals, the little nuances of life, whereas macro theory is focusing primarily on more of the big picture things when it comes to research. So looking at quantitative and qualitative research, it's important to keep in mind as we move forward in here I'm sorry, this froze. So as we look at quantitative research, it's important to know and have a comparison of quantitative and qualitative research to understand where we may be going within our research studies this semester. So qualitative research is really designed to gain a broad and deeper understanding of reasons and motivations within communication behaviors and phenomena. Quantitative research is really designed to quantify data and generalize results in the form of samples and things of that nature from a statistical perspective. So we're looking at communication behaviors and phenomenon in the form of quantifying the data and providing generalizations from it in that perspective rather than looking at it from a deeper perspective in qualitative research. So you can see here that their qualitative research is largely unstructured versus quantitative, which is very structured, and quantitative is using data to draw statistical analyses of communication behaviors and phenomena, where qualitative is really looking at underlying reasons and motivations for those behaviors and phenomena. So as we look through the course information, it's really important to keep in mind what we're working on this week. You have 2 assignments, your weekly review and your critical assignment, number 1. They're both due on Sunday. If you have any questions, let me know, and I pray you all have a blessed week. God bless.